Cents Per Mile, featuring Charles Gracie and Paul Gibson, with loads of recruiting and marketing experience and backed by the largest driver audience in the world. We deliver carriers the driver perspective, find solutions, and help make sense.
Thank you for tuning in to Cents Per Mile. I'm your host, Charles Gracie.
And I'm your co-host, Paul Gibson. What are we talking about today, Charles?
Insurance?
Oh, what? Wow.
It's almost as exciting as like talking about brisket mac and cheese.
Christ. Anyway, yeah, insurance is, wow. I hope we have some guests that can take a punch. But anyway, before we get to that, same thing we always got to do. So we are on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere you get your podcasts, YouTube. So if you could like, subscribe, rate wherever you consume your podcast, it helps us, pushes us out, gets more momentum, and we can do more cool stuff like some of the stuff we have planned on for later this year.
Yeah, or you can go to centspermilepodcast.com. You can suggest a topic to be a guest or even to become a sponsor.
Sponsor? Who's our sponsor today, Charles?
TAFS. Factoring can be fun. Check out TAFS.com.
Yep. Shout out to my boys, Brian, Rob.
Love those guys.
George, everybody over there. Good time.
If you ever
always
wanted
a
to
good
see
time.
Factoring be fun, you got to hang out with TAFS.
I would agree 100%. But, you know what's not that fun?
Insurance, news, bills, brisket mac and cheese.
It is time for the news. All right, so it's time for 10-2 News, where we go over some of the craziest, most relevant, most interesting stories, terrible stories of, the past week that we find interesting or important about the industry. Most time it comes from CDLLife. So this first story, U.S. producer prices flat in June, but tariffs lift good costs. So the producer price index is unchanged in June. Good producer prices rise 0.3% as tariffs start to actually impact and it becomes evident. Services prices fall 0.1% amid a weak demand for travel, and manufacturing production increases 0.1%. So that's kind of interesting. Basically costs of like services and things like that are down, but the cost of actual products are up. Which is kind of led to a situation where it looks like a lot of people are expecting the Fed to either stay still or go down. Looking right, but also looking more towards the rest of the year if this trend continues.
It's gonna stay still.
But the only reason why I'm talking about this and why I brought it up was for our second story. It is interesting that a truck maker plans to lay off 2,000 workers in the U.S. and Mexico. Daimler announces indefinite furloughs at 5 sites amid slowing market demand. So Daimler Truck North America plans to temporarily lay off 2,000 employees from 5 facilities in the U.S. and Mexico amid weak market demand, company said. The layoffs, which will be effective Friday, include 2 facilities near Charlotte, as well as factories in Detroit, Portland, and in Mexico. Each site will experience different impacts based on local business needs. And they said, as we navigate challenging economic environment, we've seen notable slowdown in new truck orders, particularly in our medium-duty, on-highway, and electric vehicle segments. Is what their spokesperson said.
People aren't buying trucks in this kind of market?
Weird. But to align with current market conditions, we've made the tough decision to implement workforce reductions across several facilities. So my interesting question that I posed, though, is, obviously with like production costs not really changing, but, prices going up for goods, but like the cost of services going down. Do you think this particularly affects truck manufacturers for full size heavy haul trucks? like actual semis, like, do you think that it affects them inversely because the products they make are used for services?
I think that you're trying to go down a rabbit hole, and here's what I'll tell you. This is definitely indicative of the market we find ourselves sitting in.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this, the uncertainty, the changes, the abrupt changes daily, uncertainty comes at a cost. And where long term we'll be able to look back at this and say, hey, this was either a good move or a bad move. Right now, people are feeling the pain. And when people are feeling the pain, what they're not doing is expanding their fleets as much as they historically have. Long term, hey, it might pay off. I mean, we saw that report. I don't know if you probably did. You saw the report of the first time that we took in enough money off tariffs where the country actually got to report earning. Long term, how that's going to play out, I don't know. I'm not going to be a lobbyist. I'm not going to be anyone other than reporting what we see. But what I'm seeing is nothing this year looks anything other than bleak. And if you can tighten your belt, you can have a solid foundation. You have a chance. If you have fractures in your foundation, probably not having a good time.
Wow.
You like how I walked that line there, right?
Power abhors a vacuum. I did all this to try to like do some like fun financial
I know
type stuff.
I know
and
what
you immediately
nope.
walked into the doom and gloom.
Yeah, role reversal.
Wow. Wow. I put a lot of thought to it. And then is that what it feels like when you like try to like come up with some sort of like, hey, what about this? And someone's just like, everything sucks. Is that what that feels like? Wow.
It is. Now you know how I feel when I do it. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm going to walk Paul off a ledge and he's going to be optimistic, and then nope, doom and gloom.
No, I love that. I love the trauma bonding and I love the realism. No, I'm pumped on it.
You know what I love though?
Tenstreet and going behind the desk.
Bingo. Well, it's time to go behind the desk, and we got Ryan Rogers from Tenstreet with us. Welcome to Cents Per Mile.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we talked about the news, and it wasn't all that exciting this week. And then later on, we're talking about insurance, and that can't be that exciting. But let's talk about what you guys are cooking up over there.
Yeah, thanks for letting me share a little bit. So my name's Ryan Rogers, background. Been in the trucking industry for 25 years at Chattanooga, Tennessee. Started a company called TexLocate. So we are doing driver communication between freight brokers and drivers, making it easy, really promoting it around no app, because we know the drivers get a little frustrated using apps and logging in and all those kind of things. So we do location, two-way chat, image capture for POD. So a lot of the drivers out there today are using our product as they work with freight brokers. Had really good success with that. Tenstreet acquired us back in February, really about getting deeper and closer to the driver in communication, operational things. One of the areas that we are co-developing today between TexLocate and Tenstreet is really around this idea of the fraud issues that are going on today. There's products like Highway out there that are doing a really good job that are at the carrier level. So between us and Tenstreet, we are all focused on the driver. So we were thinking, how do we get a product that protects the driver? I don't know what official word. We've kind of tinkered with the product name Driver Protect. I'm not for sure what we'll exactly land on. But the idea is having a way to help protect the drivers with identity theft. So the drivers, today, Tenstreet's got the Pulse app, where you can go on and look at potential job opportunities and things like that. What we want to do is encourage drivers to have their CDL information, have their contact information, everything current, their phone, everything. And then that would link to their job history and applicant tracking and all those kind of things that they normally would do. And so the idea is if a freight broker is booking a load with a carrier, and when they provide the driver's phone number, their mobile number to be able to communicate during transit, they would be able to work through us and Tenstreet to validate that this is an actual real driver. And then it would show up alerts in the Tenstreet Pulse app that the driver would have their contact information in. So the idea is really around protecting driver identity to the point that at each load, so that a driver can be insured, it's really for two reasons, where the driver can be insured that their identity is being used properly, and then additionally that the broker can know, hey, I'm actually talking to a driver. And there's a lot of situations. One is they give out fake names, fake information, fake numbers, voice over IP numbers. And that's an issue, and we can identify that today. But the idea here is that they give out an actual real driver. So I've never driven a truck. So if you put my phone number in, it's going to be like, hey, we don't know anything about Ryan. Maybe he's new. Maybe I, send over, would you like to invite him to get his information to help us verify? And then additionally, let's say it is, we're working through next steps about how to prevent or let a driver know about their identity so that we get alerts and things. So you could actually, a driver could see, hey, I'm being put on a load with a freight broker XYZ going from, I don't know, we'll call it Chattanooga to, we'll say it's a long haul to Los Angeles. Well, what if the driver is like, I'm not on that load? Because what my feeling in the fraud area of what's going on is a lot of times I think they're using driver names and phone numbers for loads that they're not on and don't exist.
Well, you have that happening, and then you got DOT numbers being sold without actually properly being sold, so they're not going through the vetting process. There's multiple layers, and that's what I've come to learn about this whole fraud thing. Is there's multiple layers to this onion, and I think it's much like truck parking. It's going to take the private sector, it's going to take the government working together, collaborating in order to fight this and put it to bed permanently.
Yeah, I think you're right. And when we were talking about it, Tim, the founder of Tenstreet, and myself, we were talking about ideas. And this is one that just hit so well with both of us because we want to make things easier for the driver and we want to protect the driver. Those are our core customers, using the products that we have. And we thought no better way to do that than the issues going on with fraud. And right now, I know everybody gets probably tired of hearing about the fraud issues because it comes up so often. But the reality is it's occurring so frequently, and they're using all different situations to do that. So the more we can do things, and instead of just only protecting, quote, the broker and the carrier, we really want to take it like protect the driver. We want the driver to feel comfortable. Like the Pulse app is the driver's app. It's built for them and for their benefit, and not something that's forced to be used. But this is where you can protect your identity.
Encouraged to be used. Yeah,
exactly. And you like it, and it's built for you, and not.
Well, you know how you can do that. You start putting Paul and I on the app. You start putting us on the app, and they will come. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, if you build it, you put us in it, then they'll come.
Yeah, well, we've already got built. We need to figure out how to put you in it. But it's really, I look at it as drivers, who's looking out for them. This is the way we look out for them personally, and, from a professionalism and professional position that they can put their identity and feel like, hey, yeah, I'm protecting my identity. So people aren't, pointing at me when situations happen. Because a lot of times, with the identity theft, they'll call that driver, and their driver's like, I have no idea. I'm not on that load. Somebody gave you a random phone number. I didn't do anything wrong. It happens all the time. And they're just basically, a lot of the fraudsters are just buying time so that they can cause more delays where they can make everything disappear without anybody knowing.
So that was some good stuff, Ryan. And I appreciate you dropping in for Behind the Desk with Tenstreet, and look forward to hearing more about it.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you for having me on.
At TAFS, we offer unparalleled trucking excellence and service. Enjoy exclusive benefits like fantastic tire discounts and 1-hour advances for quick cash. Recognized as the top factoring company in 2023, we're your partner for success. Access business loans, manage finances with ease through our client portal, F2 fuel card, and mobile app. Contact us now to see how we can help your trucking business thrive.
Now it's time for our main segment, Make Sense. And Paul, I brought in some heavy hitters so we can have the discussion all together to make sense of insurance, if that's possible. So we got Merryl from American Trucking Group, and we got Sage, the Outcast. Yeah, honestly, you guys, welcome to Cents Per Mile. You've both been on here before. When we're talking insurance, both your names came to the forefront of the conversation, so I really want to take it off from there. We'll start with you, Merrill.
Real quick, they came to the front because we're like, what insurance people could we push around and still be friends with afterwards?
Merle, when we're talking insurance, it's one of those things that everyone's complaining about because the premiums keep going up, costs keep going up, and insurance doesn't really come down.
No, absolutely not. Well, there's a lot of different factors, but probably one of the main factors is insurance companies have taken a beating and they're going to get their money back out of somebody. And guess who it's going to be? If you're in the driver commercial world, they're going to get it out of the drivers. And everybody that I've quoted here in the last 60 days, nobody's rates have gone down. They've gone up. And it's even put
Tell me
so. Oh, yeah, it's gone up for sure. It's put some of these guys are like, well, let me think about it. Let me see if I can swing it. And you talked about having foundation. Some of these trucking companies, whether it's a 1-man, 2-man, or a 5-man truck outfit, they don't have that. They have that fractured foundation and they can't sustain. And then I'll call them back and say, listen, we got it. We got it. What do you want to do? He goes, forget it, man. I got to sell my trucks. I've got to go do something else. I can't sustain this insurance. I'm paying for insurance and I'm not getting it on the revenue side because trucks are expensive, tires are expensive, and they're having to deal with finding the loads to keep them running.
So what I'm hearing here is when it comes to insurance and trucking, you guys are essentially like the final nail in their coffin.
Yeah. Well, I would say we're actually their friend as best as we can be.
No, you guys are protecting them, but the cost. When you talk about the biggest cost of a trucking company, you look at plates and licensing and all that stuff. That's a big annual cost for a trucking company. And then insurance right next to equipment that's got to rank amongst their biggest costs.
Yep. In the insurance world, I mean, the underwriters are beating us to death, and all we're doing is being the messenger in between and making sure they're properly protected. And
so covered. Paul and I need to become underwriters to help this problem.
Yeah, absolutely. You can underwrite all these folks. They would be happy and keep running loads.
Any insurance companies that want to offer Paul and I a job to be underwriters, we're here for the industry. We can help.
We'll try. Yeah, we'll take a whack at it. So I have a question. As someone who has car insurance, which is not the same, and health insurance, which is not the same, but there and rent anyway. I have several kinds of insurances.
That aren't the
same, but it's the same in certain ways. So I was wondering, so you guys work, and maybe Sage, we'll let you hop in here for this one, tag you in. So it's the idea that like insurance, right? Like there's different tiers, there's different premiums and that sort of stuff. And I know when you're trying to work with people to make it affordable for them, you have to do it, but like, and Merrill said, we're they're friends. Right. Mm-hmm. So I also recently saw like the new Superman movie, and I was kind of thinking, like, what if like there was a superhero, but he'd only save you in certain conditions? Like, oh, you're falling, I'll fly in and catch you. Oh, there was a flood. Sorry, I don't do that. Even though you paid for it.
I am insurance man. Well, I think one of the biggest things too is how are they kind of your friends is when you call an insurance, at least for trucking, because I'm still on dial up in Firefox, but when you're calling insurance for trucking, basically you want to have the person that you're talking to knowledgeable and be able to take a look at your record and everything that's presented. Right. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I'll check would be their FMCSA filing. Is that right? Does it have the proper information? Are they listing themselves as both household goods and general freight, or all these other boxes that it's like, hey, what are you actually doing, right? Because that affects, hey, it says you have 2 trucks and 12 drivers. What's going on here, right? So it's taking a look at those type of things that would, set red flags in the insurance industry. And it's also going through things like, hey, making sure drivers understand that when you drive your car and you're in an accident, that's a claim that they're going to see. Or when I'll ask drivers, hey, have you ever had an accident or a ticket or a claim or a suspended license? If you've had a claim where insurance has paid you money, that's a claim. Like drivers, you kind of have two records. You have your driving record and tickets and things that you can get, but you also have a claim record. So if insurance has had to pay out for you before, that could be a claim, and that can affect your record.
Yeah, because you have to pay more for a service if you've used it after paying for it. Cool. But so I guess to clarify my question better is, in brokering this, how do you? So, because essentially there's a sales element to it, right? You know, me and Charles spend a lot of time in recruiting.
Have you ever seen people get lined up for a firing squad? Because I feel like this is that.
It's not that. He's not wearing a No, it's not. He's not wearing a bandana. So my question is when you're selling it, right? How do you justify, like, what is your pitch to justify, and this could go to either of you, what's your pitch to justify the gaps in coverage versus the cost? So it's like, I'm paying for this and I'm paying for this, but in this situation, even though it puts me in a similar spot, you're not going to cover that. How do you sell the gaps in the coverage?
In regards to, so the coverages that we're selling is kind of standard in trucking industry, right? We're selling the auto liability, we're selling your cargo, your general liability. If you need trailer, that's kind of standard. Everything else, if you were to, except New Jersey,
Go
likes
figure.
to up everybody to 1.5, but they're the off one. So those are kind of the standard coverages we're covering. Now there's a lot, you can explain what that's all about, and that's after that it gets handed off to like Progressive, and that falls into underwriting, those evil underwriters, the grim reapers of the insurance industry. And then you have claims agents. So that kind of falls down that they're going to come back and look at that. So we're not really selling any extended policies to most of the carriers, the new carriers that are out there. We're selling that blanket, that auto liability, cargo coverage, general liability. So I'm not sure if you're asking, like, what happens if somebody's not getting paid on a coverage because they tarped something and something got condensation under it. That's a claims department for different.
Well, I'm saying there's like for a lot of
insurance.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so for like, I mean, for instance, a lot of times with like, if you live in Florida and you have all those companies that now don't cover acts of God. So, or flood insurance in certain areas. So like when there's stuff that like, is there stuff like that you can't, like, that's standard? You say standard. Is there things that are like standard to not cover?
Yeah. Generally, the basic underlining stuff is always going to be there. You're more, like he just said. Now, there's things that may, depending on who the underwriter is. So, for example, if a trucking company comes to me, the leverage is, hey, let me shop you against all the markets we have out there, 33 of them. And instead of you having to have the same conversation 33 times. But by me understanding, and I'm sure you as well, is understanding what they do, what they haul. If it's reefer, do they swap trailers? Are they using their own trailer? Those are all different types of additional coverage that may need to come into play. So they might need a reefer interchange. They might need a trailer interchange. There's all sorts of other things. What do they haul? Is it hazmat? Well, if that's a hazmat type load, now we're going into a whole different type of risk group. And there's only a handful of companies out there to deal with anybody hauling hazmat. So we really have to fine tune and understand what their operation is. Yeah, they're a trucking company, but not all trucking companies do the same thing. Some just do household, some do flatbeds, some do reefers, some do this. Some don't run all over the country. So if you're not running all over the country and you're only running a couple states, your risk is smaller than somebody is running from East Coast to West Coast, because now they're in a different risk category. So their premiums are probably going to be higher than others. The other things we have to factor and figure out is who their drivers are. Are they good drivers? Or are they causing problems for the company? And there are drivers out there, and it's being honest with the owner of the company and say, listen, this guy right here is the one that's causing you the pain point.
What?
My recommendation is your guy is I'd find me somebody with a better record. Insurance is like a credit score. If your credit stinks, they're not going to give you anything. And the same in the trucking industry. If your overall rating in FFCSA and insurance stinks, it's very hard to get you insured in this market. There are people that will do it. They're called risk management groups, and you're going to pay for it. And if you aren't bringing in the revenue to get it done, you're going to be out of this industry.
100%. And that's what our job is to truly take the time to understand what the truck driver is doing, what he does that. And the better agents know the industry and will take the time to do that, to find those those tweaks to get you the best price possible.
Now, I did want to take a minute with you guys because we do beat up on insurance quite a bit on the show. But the reason we had asked you guys is because I think a lot of times people associate the negative with the people that are out there selling. And that's not, you sell what you sell, you communicate what you communicate. You're not the ones making the rules. You're not the ones underwriting these things. We brought you guys on because you sit on two sides of this and you guys try to communicate it as upfront as possible with people, which is why you're here.
Right.
So
there are good people that work at the FMCSA.
Yeah. So good insurance, folks.
Same thing.
Tell real quick. Can you, before we close out the show, can you guys tell me where people can find you guys? We'll start with you, Merrill.
Yeah, they can simply call me on my number, 229-500-5202. It'll come straight to my cell phone. You can text me at that same number, say, I need some help. I'll sit down and have a free risk assessment and consultation with you and understand your operation and advise you which direction to go. If I can help you, I can. There are clients that we deal with that they've got good policies and what they're being offered is higher. And I tell them, stick with what you got. Quit shopping. Quit looking for. It's like telling a driver, quit looking for a job. You've got a good job. Just stay where you're at.
Yeah. And Sage.
Yeah, same. You can sageoutcast.com. You can reach me, find me there, and then that'll have my YouTube page. That'll have my link for my insurance type stuff, and even everything. So for me, it's just like I said, the same thing he said. The grass isn't always greener. Just find somebody that knows the industry that you can talk to, be comfortable with, that's going to be honest with you and tell you it like it is.
It's like trying to find a trustworthy broker, though, when you're talking insurance.
It
well,
is.
no, I'll tell you. Oh, man. I'm just saying how it is.
Yep. I feel like so to summarize all this before we get out of here, I feel like so essentially insurance companies are to trucking companies what overregulation is to truck drivers, except for it's all financial and not necessarily set by law.
Yeah.
But it is good. It is good to know that there are good people who can bridge that gap the best it can be bridged as a necessary evil.
Yeah, we'll have to have you guys on again to break it down because I think there's a lot to be unpacked there. But appreciate you guys coming on the cents per mile. And Paul, I think it's time for us to get out of here.
Yep. It is that time.
So thanks for tuning in to Cents Per Mile. I'm your host, Charles Gracie.
And I'm your co-host, Paul Gibson. See you next time.